scoured the internet and found what you had to say. And now, I shall expose you. Hello, beautiful people. I'm the Luschmaster. Welcome to my channel. Oh yeah, of course. Subscribe. This is everything you had to say about Michael Scott from The Office. I've never loved a character more than Michael Gary Scott. Steve Carell, you are a legend. Pam hugging Michael goodbye in the airport is one of my top 3 moments from the show, along with Michael's proposal to Holly and Erin admitting she thinks of Michael as a father figure. He is the most lovable character in the history of any TV series or movie. Literally one of the best written characters of all time. Steve Carell as Michael Scott is honestly the only celebrity I have great respect for and have so much joy and comfort to thank. I've cried for hours, and the only thing that gives me comfort unconditionally is The Office, and especially Michael and Dwight and Jim. Thank you to everyone who helped produce this, and Steve for creating this heartwarming character. Michael, a man that was truly in touch with himself in a world of people living in a bubble. Every time Michael says, "Well, you know what? I expect comedy gold to follow." The phone call between Dwight and Jim is still one of the funniest scenes between the three, especially how Michael just continued as if it was real. Michael actually considering firing Dwight like it's actually $1 million sale is hilarious. Michael wasn't a character on The Office. He was The Office. This is why The Office just wasn't the same when Michael left. Because even though each character is so unique and so special and adds so much to the story, Michael was what brought them all together. Michael has so many great moments. It's quite amazing. It's really incalculable. Michael's best moments are definitely telling Jim to never ever give up on the boat trip, impressing Jan at the Chili's when he makes the deal, apologizing to David Wallace at the managers' meeting for the rumored relationship between him and Jan, thus saving her career, standing up to Packer after he disrespects Phyllis, the moment when Jim's boss Josh leaves Dunder Mifflin and it causes Jim to appreciate Michael's loyalty, welcoming Dwight back to the office after he's forced to resign, going to Pam's art show and validating her hard work, confronting Stanley for his insubordination, Jim appreciating how hard Michael's job is and telling him "that's what she said" joke after he tries to survive in the forest, selling the Michael Scott paper company to David Wallace, realizing threat level midnight isn't good and doesn't need to be recognized as so, cleaning off the Woody for Alan, and for having a good send-off for all of his employees before leaving for Colorado. Michael Scott wasn't perfect, but there's a lot to learn from his character. Michael is a great boss. He doesn't micromanage. He treats his workers like human beings. That's hard to find today in America. Michael is definitely a genius and a great manager who cares about the feelings of his employees and the work environment. We see that when Michael tells Jim that he wants the office to keep playing the mystery game because he doesn't want anyone to worry and stress. Jim then realizes that Michael is not only a great salesman, but also a great boss. Y'all missed out on an episode which I think perfectly explains what it is about Michael that actually makes him a good manager. Season 6, Episode 10. Michael understood that he had a self-organizing team, So he understood that his role as manager wasn't to actually organize his staff and tell them what to do. They already knew what to do. His role was actually to play the court jester for his office and keep morale high. In that episode, he keeps trying to get the office to play a board game while the company is on the brink of collapse. Jim thinks that the way to keep morale high would be to adopt a business as usual approach, which wasn't working. Michael wanted to give the office a distraction to get them through the day because nothing they did was going to fix anything. He even said as much in an argument with Jim. Management, more so than any other job, is centered around people. That includes keeping morale high so his subordinates could come in every day and actually get through their 8 hours and not get burnt out. He was great at that. Just because he didn't care about efficiency doesn't make him a bad manager, just unorthodox. Michael literally is the best boss ever. He always seems to mess up, but he doesn't really. Michael kept morale high with his family and best pals approach. This leads to less turnover in the branch, which leads to consistent sales numbers. Customers are dealing with the same people year in and year out. Consequently, customers buy from who they know. In the other branches, managers and sales staff are more corporate and business. And in a failing industry, people are hired and quit in a revolving door sequence. Customers see new faces all the time and don't buy from sales staff they don't know. That is why Scranton is successful over all the branches. I have a Michael Scott as a boss, and yes, the department I'm working in is doing just fine. Nobody knows why exactly, but we do fine. Michael Scott understood what business was all about. The people. Michael Scott, the boss, so great, his hairline restored itself. He was a liability that was only suited for sales. Racial discrimination lawsuit, sexual harassment lawsuit, workplace safety lawsuit. He hit an employee with a car. He dragged an employee to rehab. He kidnapped a delivery person. He tried to frame an employee for drug possession. He faked a drug test. Yeah, well, I'm calling the ungrateful BH hotline in front of a news person. He hired back a person who defrauded the company. He almost committed suicide, faking a suicide. Bought alcohol for the entire company on several occasions. Watched movies instead of doing work on Movie Monday. I can't tell if Michael is working hard or hardly working. Michael is a great delegator. He never does any work for himself, ever. He locked the team in a meeting room and he stalled on firing someone. That episode when he tried to get Dwight to take the fall for him for the Willy Wonka thing so Dwight would get fired. Nobody loves Michael like Dwight, and he took advantage of his friend's pure devotion. I was heartbroken. He mistreated Toby throughout his tenure as regional manager of the Dunder Mifflin Scranton branch. Let's not forget when he announced that the Buffalo branch was closing at the company picnic. Michael announcing that the boat was going to sink and causing a big panic in the Booze Cruise episode deserves an honorable mention. The moment Michael left the show, I realized that Michael Scott was The Office. Of course, the whole cast is amazing and hilarious, but I don't know. Without Michael, I wasn't so interested in the show as I used to be. It seems that he was the reason a very good show became a GOAT show. I just watched The Office for the first time. Great show. But the end of season 7 and the entirety of 8 and 9 feel empty without Michael. Andy is not good enough. Robert California is definitely not good enough. Gabe is atrocious. Nelly is slightly better, but still under Michael and Andy. Everyone is just nothing without Michael. I just finished season 7. I miss Michael Scott. I cry every time I watch Michael leave the office to be with Holly. The show wasn't the same without his antics. I love The Office, but watching the last 2 seasons were a bit challenging to watch for the second time. The first couple of seasons were great though, and I always seemed to gravitate towards them. Michael Scott just gave that kind of memorable acting that a few side actors couldn't keep up with in the later seasons. Steve carried the show, in my opinion, and when he left, he took a piece of my heart with him. Best boss in the world. I've seen the first 7 seasons an embarrassing amount of times, enough to quote word for word nearly every line. I've only watched 8 and 9 once. The Office is my favorite show of all time, and I cannot stand the final season's goodbye Michael in the last episode in my heart. Every time I revisit the series, I get to the episode where Michael leaves, I struggle to hold back my tears. It's impossible to even see a screen grab of Jim and Michael or Michael and Pam at the end of this episode without getting somewhat emotional. I cry every single time I watch this episode. And the beauty of this is how calculated and mature Michael is with his exit. Shows how much he grows throughout the series. Truly, the greatest goodbye in TV history. Perfect goodbye and ending character arc for the best TV character of all time. I cried like a baby. It's fascinating how a character can ruin every social situation he's in, yet so genuinely care about everyone's opinion. They wrote Michael too well. Almost nobody hates him, and absolutely everyone loves him. Michael Scott is at the same time the funniest and the most tragic character in the history of television. I mean, even the whole of Scranton, except Pam and Jim sometimes, doesn't care about him. If I meet him, I would like to give him the biggest hug. It's really interesting when Michael and Andy are doing their sales pitch. Michael is in his element. There's been times when it's hinted how well he knows a client's needs and finds ways to deliver what the client wants to hear, yet he will manage to make it work. This really does explain how he became a manager. Not just bumbling his way up, but he really made an effort to reach every person's wants and needs. Kind of sad thinking how it's likely he developed the skill hoping to gain friends. Michael is at the very least a troll. The episode where he leaves and he's handing out gifts, he basically admits to giving Oscar a dumb gift and told him he made it just to see if Oscar believes he is that stupid to have made it. He is laughing while explaining. If he trolled Oscar about the gift, who's to say he wasn't trolling everyone all the time for his own amusement? Michael is just more complex than people think. He has a duality to him, like all people do. It always impressed me how Michael knew the names of Angela's cats or how he showed up for Pam's art display. Michael is the pinnacle of winging it, and somehow it works. I can't put it in any other way than to say it was a great pleasure to be on this journey with Michael. Since the beginning, I fell in love with him. He was never a bad person. He just did not know how to get the love he always felt he needed, and watching him grow like that was amazing. He will always be my favorite character. I think the biggest change in Michael's character is in his very last episode, where he schedules his going away party for the day after his departure. The old Michael Scott would have definitely wanted to make a bigger deal of him leaving Dunder Mifflin. In season 3, when he applied for the corporate job, he planned a big speech over some music as he exited the building. When he quits and starts his own paper company, he also makes a big speech as he's kicked out by Charles Minor. But in the last episode in season 7, he instead focuses on giving back to his co-workers to give them each a proper goodbye. He realizes that he doesn't need to have a grandiose moment for all his co-workers to see, and that each of the smaller amounts and interactions he has with his co-workers have just as much, if not more, meaning. Michael would Google to see if it would break the internet. I was thinking he might also Google so he could look things up, not realizing he started in Google when he opened his browser. Michael Scott would Google foot burn fatality rates. Michael Scott would Google, how do I unsend an email? Michael Scott would Google, how to get YouTube to film your funny videos. He's definitely searching Google for YouTube thousands of times so he can watch Cookie Monster singing Chocolate Brain. Michael Scott would Google inexpensive Asian babies. Michael Scott would Google how to get black people to like you. Michael Scott would Google America versus China. Michael Scott would Google, can you die from 3 vasectomies? Don't ever, for any reason, do anything to anyone for any reason whatsoever, no matter what, no matter where or who you are with, or where you are going, or where you've been, for any reason whatsoever. You can't win if you don't play, and you can't play if you don't win. React, adapt, readapt, and act. A good manager doesn't fire people. He hires people and inspires people. I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. I want people to fear how much they love me. His last name is Christ. He has the power of flight. He can heal leopards. Green means go ahead and shut up about it. I've got a need for tweed. Well, how the turntables. That's what she said. Theory. Michael's actually a secret genius. Think about it. The Scranton branch always has the best performing numbers. I think this is because of Michael and not so much the ingenuity and work ethic of the employees. He purposefully annoys the crap out of his employees so that they will see work as an escape from his harassment. He's basically annoying them into where they see anything as better as interacting with him, including doing work instead of goofing off. The reason we never get to see Michael Scott's family or Michael and Holly together post-wedding, which they could have easily shown at Dwight's wedding, is because Michael and Holly never get married. Michael was yet again unlucky with love, or maybe he screwed things up with Holly and he knew exactly what to do. But in a much more real sense, he had no idea what to do. Michael, being the man that he is, came up with a story, including the part where he had 2 phones with pictures of his kids to hide all of this. Also, what he had staked was really too much. He continued to live away from Scranton, sad and lonely. Why we don't see Holly or their family is simple. Holly and the kids are home and the film crew couldn't get permission in time to show images of the children. I feel like it's similar to Jim's letter to Pam from the teapot. Michael may have wanted to keep a little something for himself, which is not letting PBS show images of his kids. And since everyone, including PBS and the crew, didn't know Michael would be attending to serve as Dwight's bestest mensch, they may have scrambled to get Michael to sign release forms. This is long but good. That's what she said, so bear with me. I didn't always think Michael was a genius or an amazing guy. After watching The Office a couple of times, though, I thought he was a completely arrogant and idiotic individual. But then I ran through it a fifth time, then a sixth time, and realized that Michael Scott is actually a complete genius. I'm of the belief and opinion that all the stupid, arrogant, selfish things he does is to bring out the best in others, lighten the tension when things get tough, and make others happy, using an unorthodox and indirect method. I truly believe he plays a character, but in certain instances, he breaks character into what we perceive as normal and a really good person. I will even be bold enough to say genius. Let's get this one out of the way. Amazing salesman. No one can deny he is a master when it comes to sales. He is a natural talent. He knows what people want to hear and he says all the right words. Foreshadowing my next point. Every time he's seriously making sales, I think he breaks his classic character. He's confident, charming, and really good person, contrary to his classic personality. He attended Pam's art show. He went out of his way, despite having a bad day and having to race across town to go to Pam's art show. He didn't compare her art to anyone else's and saw the best in what she had to show. He literally only had eyes for Pam's paintings. For a split moment, when Michael sees the painting of the office building, I think Michael breaks character to ask Pam how much it was to buy the painting. In this scene, he also avoids eye contact with Pam and has a raspy voice. He's clearly very emotional and might not want Pam to realize he's breaking character. I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy. He then hugs Pam, saying he's very proud of her, again avoiding eye contact. He then snaps back into his character and makes a joke about the chocolate in his pocket. He quits Dunder Mifflin, starts his own paper company, and makes Dunder Mifflin buy them out. I mean, enough said. When Michael was making French toast and was having a borderline crisis, I genuinely think he did this to try to get some more excitement and leadership out of Pam. For the rest of the scenes and the preceding episodes, he shows nothing but enthusiasm. Was he just sad for half an hour, then it all completely went away? I think not. I think he breaks his usual character multiple times in this episode. 1. After the unsuccessful run at his grandma's investment club and losing Vikram, he encourages Pam that their company will work. That's when he breaks character. During the buyout meeting, when he snaps at David Wallace and tells him that he will simply make another paper company if he doesn't agree to his terms. Genius, and again, out of character. Guys, these things aren't a coincidence. An arrogant idiot doesn't just have moments of pure genius and complete compassion and empathy. Bells, bourbons, and bullets. My all-time favorite moment. Michael snaps at Jim. No, you shut up. They need this game, Jim. Let them have this stupid little game. Literally have this memorized. In a completely selfless act, Michael manages to turn an incredibly stressful situation into a fun and great day at the office. Guys, him snapping was him breaking character in frustration with Jim. Something he has never done and is never done in the show again. I don't know how else to explain it. Compassion, care, and empathy is emulated by the scene, something which is completely hidden when he's playing his character. Goodbye, Jim. Another amazing scene where Michael desperately tries not to break character but can't due to the emotions running through him. Jim confronts Michael about leaving today rather than tomorrow. You can see how Michael attempts to continue his usual acts of jokes in the scene, but he can't hold it together when he starts tearing up. Although he doesn't say anything out of character, the eyes, chico, they never lie. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening to my Michael Scott theory. Steve killed it playing this very complex character. And although we could sit here and talk for hours about all the questionable, narcissistic, and irrational things Michael has done, after watching this show an embarrassing amount of times, I have truly come to the conclusion that Michael is nothing short of caring, compassionate, and an overall really good guy. If you've gotten to this part of the video, comment the award emoji. Tra-la-la.